If you were growing up today, in this generation, how would you handle the pressure to make sense of a world shaped by crisis? Imagine waking up every day with the weight of your world on your shoulders. You're expected to do well in academics, deal with the personal issues you may face online, and navigate the new real world after the global pandemic. Nonetheless, doing all of this as a teenager or a young adult. For Gen Z, it isn't a possibility, it's reality. Technology and social media have become major parts of life, being a major key in how this generation communicates with one another and even views themselves. As students, the academic pressures this generation may face ultimately can take a serious toll on the mental health of individuals who may be feeling these stressors heavily. On top of both factors, the COVID-19 pandemic added a bunch of unexpected challenges and stressors into everything, as well as isolating individuals for some of the most important growing and learning years of their lives. We in this generation have faced a lot more than we would have expected to, especially at such a young age. We're going to share how technology and social media, academic pressures, and the pandemic have seriously had a big impact on the mental health of Gen Z and what we can do about it. Whether that is setting boundaries with social media, open up to connecting with individuals in person, we can find ways to support each other in a world that rarely lets us catch a break.
Imagine at 17 that your entire future depends on one exam. That one grade can define the rest of your life. Well, this is the reality for Gen Z students today. Academic pressure is one of the leading stressors students face, and this can have serious effects on mental health such as anxiety and depression. Gen Z is the generation born between 1997 and 2012. We were the first fully digital generation with technology coming to rise. So why are we under different kinds of pressure than older generations? Well, first, skyrocketed tuition. Tuition averages at $30,000 to $40,000. And job markets are more competitive than ever, with Forbes claiming job posts are declining, hiring is slow, and positions are taking longer to be filled. So people feel the need to be the best in order to have an accomplished job. Academic pressure comes in all forms, whether it's from teachers, parents, schools, or society. Students feel they must get straight A's in order to be a great student, and competitions with other students is brutal. Colleges expect students to balance a 4.0 with athletics, extracurriculars, community service, and part-time jobs. This is all while being at the age of figuring out who you are, so maintaining a social life is crucial. This can lead to anxiety and burnout. Students stay up late cramming for exams and assignments. Panic attacks before exams isn't uncommon, and I've personally faced this. Before exams, I'll get so stressed out it's hard for me to eat or sleep, which has an effect on my physical health as well as my mental health. 42% of Gen Z are diagnosed with a mental health condition, and according to the American Psychological Association, 70% report mental health being a concern on campus. This can also lead to perfectionism, where students strive for being perfect, and this affects self-worth because it's an unattainable goal. And this can also lead to imposter syndrome, where no matter how hard you try, you feel like you will never be enough. So what's being done today? Schools have counselors that help students with mental health, and some have emotional support groups. Like my high school had a group called SAP, where teachers were professionally trained to deal with mental health issues. So what can we do? We can encourage a healthy balance between life and school. Life doesn't have to just be about school. We can have open conversations about pressure so students know they aren't alone in this battle. Success can be redefined from just more than grades. It can be about who you are as a person. Schools can shift from grades to growth by doing the Mohib mindset, which is success based on academic accomplishments and no grades are assigned. And parents can focus on grades and not emotions. So instead of asking your kid, what are their grades looking like, you should ask them if they're okay. So overall, we need more empathy, resources, and systemic change. And we must realize we have the ability to change our own mindsets as well. And just remember that peace of mind is always more important than your GPA.
Have you ever wondered how technology, the very thing that connects us, might also be shaping Gen Z's mental health in ways we never imagined? By understanding the impact of technology and social media on Gen Z's mental health, we can become more mindful of its effects and pave the way for healthier digital habits. Technology and social media have grown rapidly throughout the 2000s with the invention of smartphone, apps, and social platforms. becoming integral for Gen Z's daily lives. A good example of how technology has changed is Facebook. Facebook began as a networking tool for college students in 2004. Over time, it expanded to the general public and added features like groups, events, and marketplace. Today, it's not just about keeping in touch. It's a hub for businesses, education, and even activism. It has become a platform for communication and engagement. So how do we manage our technology's impact on our mental health? Set boundaries for yourself, like limiting screen time and designating tech-free hours throughout your day. Prioritize face-to-face interaction over virtual ones. Filter your content to only things that will lift you up, and utilize mental health apps or reach out for therapy if needed.
Do you remember the time that you were trapped inside the house, no school, no sports, no friends, with nothing to do? Around this time, 5 years ago, the COVID-19 pandemic struck the United States, putting families all over the country into isolation. While the pandemic left an impact on everyone, it largely impacted Gen Z and their mental health. The most important major impact that this pandemic had on this specific generation's mental health was isolation. As schools, universities, jobs, sports, etc., started to close, these young adults and teenagers found themselves losing all sight of social interaction, which is vital to keeping mental health well. Friendships were strained and hard to maintain through the phone, and feelings of loneliness and depression started to increase rapidly. Especially for Gen Z, it was one of the most vital times to learn how to make friendships and interact with people socially for future jobs. While isolation was a large issue, the fear and uncertainty of the future that was to come played a huge factor into the effect on Gen Z mental health during the pandemic. For this generation in an already changing world with huge technological advancements throughout our lifetimes, the pandemic put a huge hold on future plans. As graduations were getting canceled, internships were lost, and career paths were completely left to the unknown, it put a huge fear and distrust into Gen Z. This played a large part in their mental health, causing anxiety in many with the fact they weren't sure how they were going to make it on their own if they didn't have education or job options available. Lastly, the impact of family dynamics played a significant role in Gen Z mental health in 2020. With increased time spent with family and having them be the only true source of social interaction, face to face in person, added stress and increased tension. Being surrounded by the same people that you already live with every day and having no escape was mentally draining. For example, many people use sports or friends as an outlet to get away from their families, and in this time, they were just stuck in isolation. The only other way to talk to outside people was through social media as well, which was very mentally draining on the generation because social media already has its cons. Many Gen Z young adults and teenagers use their social lives as an outlet, like I said before, but when the pandemic hit, they didn't have that outlet anymore. So because isolation and lack of social interaction were such key factors into diminishing mental health in Gen Z during the COVID-19 pandemic, it is important that we stay on top of and maintain healthy relationships. Making new friends and not taking away in-person moments for granted will help us appreciate society more and give us a mental break from social media, school, or other stressors in our lives.
Do you ever wonder how to improve mental health with simple, everyday tools? As spoken before by my group, there are many negative factors that affect mental health with Gen Z. Mental health is something we all have. Mental health struggles are often invisible and too often ignored. For my portion of this project, I want to talk about a few ways to improve mental health and practical tools that anyone can use to feel better and thrive. First thing I want to talk about is sleep. In our busy lives, especially for college kids who are known for pulling all-nighters when studying and finishing projects, sleep often becomes optional, but it's essential for the mind. Lack of sleep is linked to depression, anxiety, and can even be linked to suicidal thoughts. A constant sleep schedule and quality rest helps the brain regulate emotions and manage stress more effectively. Another factor is connection. Gen Z is known to be chronically online and spend many hours on social media such as TikTok, Instagram, and Snapchat. However, study shows that strong in-person social ties can increase happiness and reduce stress. Whether it's meeting up with a friend, joining a club, or even volunteering, building in-person relationships can provide relief against mental health challenges. Lastly, don't be afraid to ask for help. Therapy isn't just for people in crisis, it's for anyone who wants to grow, heal, or gain knowledge on how to get through everyday struggles. Therapy has been shown to be effective for depression and anxiety. Mental health professionals offer many tools and support that can help how we cope with life challenges. In closing, improving mental health does not require elaborate planning and spending a huge amount of money. Sometimes it's about getting enough rest, calling a friend to vent, breathing deeply, and small steps do add up and they do matter when improving mental health overall.
As many of us have explored today, Gen Z's mental health has been deeply affected by all of the major ideas: social media, academic pressures, and the COVID-19 pandemic. All of these events have shaped how Gen Z communicates and cope with situations surrounding them. Through the constant reminders on social media, the pressures they feel academically, or the isolation during the COVID-19 lockdown, the weight that our generation holds onto and carries with them every day is very serious and is worth acknowledging and taking in generously. There are numerous ways to improve the mental health of Gen Z. It's just about being able to find the correct and most beneficial resources. Though it is important to be aware, it is more important to decide whether to hold on to all of these effects or move on to better improve the overall mental state of our generation. Moving forward is up to us, our peers, and families to find support and better the overall standing of mental health. This generation is resilient, but even the people who may feel the strongest need just as much support as the people who feel the weakest. Being able to have someone understand, support, and reconnect individuals with the personal strength everyone has within themselves is what is going to be most important to heal and push through these stressors that we face every day in Gen Z. Thank you.